on Digital Lab Africa is the Institute of France, as well as AFD, that has financed the program. IFAS actually initiated Digital Lab Africa, and it's quite fantastic that in the early days of Tshimologong, we launched Digital Content Hub. In fact, this was my first big official project as CEO of Tshimologong, and I'm in my position for 4 years now. So you're very critical to the heartbeat of our work over here. And the partnership with AFD and IFAS, in fact, it's become a friendship, the way we work, and I think the model for where and how we work within the creative economy and culture and creative industries. And, you know, with Eduardo joining the team in recent months, we have made this commitment to really listen to the needs of the creative. And in our program design, we're really putting you at the heart of every single thing that we do. So you will keep seeing the program evolving and customized based on your feedback. So please engage with us. We'll see deeper alumni engagement, and it's fantastic. We have incredible alumni to come on the journey with the winners to support you in furthering your project. And one of our big ambitions also going into 2022 is that we start working more with local ecosystem builders across the continent. We only select seven winners in this category, so you know how exceptional you are. But we want to work with local ecosystem builders to also build and not only be a feeder to Digital Lab Africa, but create a feedback loop in various instances. And I think the final thing to mention from my end is that, yeah, I mean, this is very much part of Fakagezi Festival as well, that both Fakagezi as well as DLA are Pan-African focused. So we are based in Johannesburg, and all of you are welcome. You have a home now in Johannesburg. But we are a global community, and we are Pan-African community. So we're working across the continent. We're working with our partners in France. And that's really to make sure that we are locally relevant, but we are building at an international standard. And the final thing for me to say is welcome to our community. You are part of us. We're looking forward to you in reaching us, but also reach out and make yourself at home. Activate, don't be a dormant community member. You're part of the family now, so activate and find those spaces to engage with the broader Tshimologong content. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thanks so much, Leslie. Now we'll head over next to Christophe Becotte, who's from the French Embassy in Nigeria. We were very lucky to do a very particular collaboration with the French Embassy in Nigeria this year, which is helping to support Nigerian creators with the DLA. So Christophe will explain a little bit more.
Hello everyone, I am Christophe Becotte. I'm working for the French Embassy in Nigeria to develop local partnerships about cultural and creative industries. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you today, but I want to transmit my regard through this short video. I would like to begin by thanking all those who made this 5th edition a reality and a success. We were delighted to support again the Digital Lab Africa through the Solidarity Fund for Innovative Projects, which stimulates cultural entrepreneurship. DLA has very strong connection with France, and most of its participants take part in lots of residency programs, Click Animation, L'Image, Cité Internationale des Arts, and attend many industry events such as Annecy International Film Festival, Paris Games Week, New Images. We are proud to help to highlight the view of the state of digital creativity on the African continent. And then to conclude, I would like to turn to you, dear participants. With so many projects of quality that are yours, the final decision would be very difficult for the jury. But beyond determining a winner, we hope DLA has been beneficial to all of you who have been able to have constructive feedbacks. Now, we are looking forward to celebrate the announcement of the winner of the 5th edition. Thank you.
Thank you, Christophe. And next we go over to the French Embassy in South Africa, who helped to also found the DLA and who has been really a good friend to the DLA and has worked very closely with us on this project. We hand over to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, bonjour. On behalf of the French Embassy in South Africa and the French Institute of South Africa, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We are here to celebrate the next generation of African creatives selected for the 5th edition of the Digital Lab Africa program. This is such a pleasure to discover every year more and more talents through this program, and we are very proud to be part of it. As some of you may know, Digital Lab Africa is a program initiated by the French Embassy in 2016. Thanks to the French Development Agency, it has been able to grow its own wings and join the Tshimolohong Digital Innovation Precinct from Johannesburg. Since then, Tshimolohong's team has kept on implementing new ideas in the project, so it can benefit participants as much as possible. Today, thanks to them, the scope of Digital Lab Africa is remarkable and a great support to cultural and creative innovation. It is well known throughout most of the African continent and also serves as a model for similar approaches. But more than that, Digital Lab Africa is a place of beautiful encounters and shared stories with the establishment of a Digital Lab Africa community and a diverse network of experts. With a tailor-made incubation program for each participant organized with French companies, it is a great way for participants to build an international network and find support for the development of their projects. In the last 5 years, Digital Lab Africa has supported many successful projects, which are now jobs creators, such as Basic Pulse by Baya Siamala, who was in France 10 days ago for the Africa-France Summit. The program is fully in line with the orientations of the summit and its objective of meeting tomorrow's challenges together. Innovation, cultural and creative industries are powerful tools to face these challenges. Once again, I would like to thank our partner Tshimolohong, who have made it possible for this program to run so effectively. This 5th edition shows the diversity and the quality of cultural and creative industries in Africa. Congratulations to all the winners and welcome to the Digital Lab Africa family. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. I couldn't have said it better myself, so thank you. That was a fantastic summary. We are going to keep you waiting just one tiny bit more for the winners while we talk about the process. So the reason why the Digital Lab Africa winners are such an incredible bunch of creators is that also it's part of an open call. It's free for people to apply. It's free and fair process of how people get selected. And we really take a huge amount of effort to make sure that every application gets read, every application gets responded to, if you make it to the long list or the short list for the project, so that you get a sense of what you can do to improve for the next time if you're not selected, or what's working in the project. And then also, we find it really important to put those shortlist or those finalist projects in front of leading players in the industry. So thank you so much to our juries for each of the different categories. In animation, please pardon my pronunciation if I do not get your name perfectly right. For the animation jury, we had Eric Renaud, Ariane Souvert, and Moina Aram. So thank you to the animation jury. In the XR jury, we had Ingrid Kopp, Sarah Arash, and Bruno Massi. And then a large video game jury from across the continent and France, Nick Hall, Nicolas Etienne, Christophe Bellemeur, Francis Ingrand, Hugo Obi, who is one of our guest speakers today, and Frédéric Blanc. We really cannot thank these juries enough. They have kind of come on and really given so much of their time to read these projects. And again, it's something to really say that even the finalists that got through to DLA were already extremely good projects. So, even the people who got to the finalist stages have already done incredibly well and should be commended. And now we will get to the actual winners. So you might have seen previews on social media already of the faces, but now we'll introduce you to exactly who the winners are. And I will go to myself in a slight pre-record message here. And our 2021 winners are, in animation, Sagala from Uganda, Brian from Nigeria. In the XR category, we have Khodisamang from South Africa, Arome from Nigeria. In the video game category, we have Karen from Madagascar, Obi from Nigeria, and Dauda from Togo. These 7 projects from 5 countries and in 3 categories are the 2021 Digital Lab Africa winners. Ooh, sorry, we're going to go twice. So congratulations. You're going to get to see and hear from all 7 of these projects after our first speaker. We are very excited also to get you to hear what their projects are, who they are, where they're from. So you will soon see the 7 different projects. Next up, I think we're going to go to Hugo if he's available. We might do Delphine first, but maybe let me go forward to Hugo. Hugo is the founder of Melio Games. I will switch him on here. Hugo is the founder of Melio Games, a design studio for developing African-inspired games for mobile devices. He's based in Nigeria. He's really a pioneer in his field, having created game classics like Mosquito Masher, Okada Racer, Aboki Ran, and Wat King. We are super happy to have Hugo here with us today. Hugo, I think perhaps your camera is not on. There we go. Oh dear, there seems to be a bug with your camera, but we can carry on with your screen share.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Hugo, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here. It's quite exciting. It's quite a great journey. This is my 2nd year as a judge on the DLA gaming stream. It's always a pleasure to kind of like discover like new creators within the continent. This is a space that I've been in quite a number of years now. So great to kind of like give feedback and see kind of like really interesting creative stuff that people are coming up with. So just a little bit of background about myself. So my background actually was originally in economics and finance. And before I set up Melio Games back in 2012. And this is kind of like a long-term journey for me. Mostly because I kind of like see the need to kind of like create African-inspired stories and make that part of the kind of like global context of users across the world. So Melio is really set up to kind of like fill that gap for African-inspired, or bringing African narrative and African-inspired content onto like the mobile devices through gaming. We've built quite a lot of games over the period of time that we've been around. So we have over 40 games within our portfolio. We sort of like done multiple distribution rounds, done several sort of like licensing partnerships, and we continue to develop games both internally and for third parties through the studio. We're currently a team of 10, so quite nice and small. We're mostly all based in Lagos in Nigeria, but most of the team is actually from Nigeria. We are growing the team quite aggressively. We're currently working on a racing game called Danfo Racer. It's a 3D car racing game around the sort of like Lagos scene with sort of like key landmarks from the city of Lagos. And our last title was a board game of the classic What game called What King. It's available on both Android and iOS. So you guys can check it out. But let's talk a little bit about the gaming industry. The gaming industry is quite big. It's quite huge, and a lot of people don't understand how the segment works, which is the reason why it hasn't been fully developed mostly within sub-Saharan Africa, if you exclude South Africa from it. So this is kind of like, I don't want to call it a problem. This is an opportunity we're trying to tap into. Mobile is obviously driving a lot of the growth within gaming. You can see that gaming is broken down to both console, PC, and mobile. North America and China are the most dominant markets, so they are the most lucrative market, and they represent something like between the two of them around 70% of the global revenues that you're seeing on this chart. The hyper casual and the casual space is pretty much where we play at as well, but this is also the segment that has the largest density of creators. Long-term plans kind of like to evolve away from this segment and to maybe start developing more serious games and also some mid-core games as well. But this is something that's going to happen over time because of kind of like the talent development that is required to be able to play within that space. You're seeing a lot of like social and competitive gaming, driving user engagement. So like multiplayer, real-time multiplayer, live ops, within game, social apps that have gaming integrated within them or gamification integrated within them. So that's kind of like where the buzz is right now, but there's also significant opportunities for cloud gaming, VR and AR. I saw some of the winners within those categories. These are sort of what you would call emerging segments. They have been emerging for quite a number of years now, but still like huge opportunities, especially within VR and AR. Really huge opportunities for content creators in that space to kind of like do something really new and really exciting. And I still feel like Africa still remains significantly untapped when it comes to the market for gaming, both from a distribution and from a monetization standpoint. And that is partly because you don't have a lot of like local content creators in that space. This is obviously something that I think would change over the next sort of like 2 to 3 years as we're seeing a little bit more investment within the space. With obviously programs like DLA. Supporting content creators in this segment. So hopefully we'll see some of the winners go on to kind of like create amazing content and really inspire people within the communities to kind of like go ahead to follow in their footsteps. But my talk really is about sort of like, I wanted to share some of my thoughts around what I think is needed within the space to kind of like build this kind of like transformation that is required. And this is kind of like from my experience in the past, and I'm sharing this with the winners, so that hopefully you guys can look internally at how you tackle each of these. I mean, this is not an exhaustive list, but certainly the list that I think is very very paramount for some of you if you're looking at building this long term and looking at building businesses around this. So the first one is really around the vision and leadership, and this is more like about the individual who's driving that sort of like transformation. This is really important because everyone sort of like looks to you for direction in terms of where to go, when to go, how to go. And this is something that you need to be certain about. You need to have a very clear vision. That could be obviously through some kind of like documentation that helps you communicate what the product is, what the product roadmap is, who the target audience for that product is, and how you are going to deliver on that product, either as an individual or as a collective. This is something that actually came across very strongly in some of the individuals that we that were selected as winners within the gaming category. We obviously reviewed a lot of the presentations and documentations and pictures that you guys put together, and saw some really strong characters and personalities come through, either through the initial submissions that you put in or through the one-on-one interviews that you were able to do. So, this is obviously great credit to you, and that you do have that. But this is something that I think that you should continue to invest in to ensure that at every single turn you are clear about that vision. And this could also, mean putting together a vision and a mission statement, so that if you ever get lost, you can always look back to sort of what that vision was and go back to kind of like square one and start to build again, with that clarity around the vision that you have. And with leadership, about bringing people on your side, whether your team members, your partners, or the stakeholders that are invested in the company. DLA obviously is a good example of that. And ensuring that you are demonstrating good leadership. Like, you're not waiting for people to tell you when to, you are telling them what your plan is. And then obviously, going on to actually act upon that plan. The other thing that I think, or one of the other things that I think is going to be a big challenge as you start to scale up is on the talent side. Obviously, these are kind of like emerging industries. They're relatively new spaces. What that means is that eventually you would run out of, like easy access to competent talent. This is a challenge that we faced very early on in the development of Melio. And we faced this challenge for a very long time until we sort of like decided to make the talent challenge part of our business model. And what we did in that was to kind of like invest in an in-house training program to enable us to identify and develop people internally, rather than waiting for the market to kind of like provide us with like ready talents. We also embedded this within our sort of like hiring process, where we've kind of like put together a very strong sort of like pipeline mechanisms for identifying, assessing, and then sort of like recruiting talent, so that again, it's not too painful a process as we start to move from maybe like 5 individuals to 10 individuals and move from 10 to 20 and maybe 20 to 50. That we have a system in place to be able to kind of like attract and grow talent. So this is something that you also need to think about. It might be very early in your development process, but again, it's something that you have to keep at the back of your mind and start to figure out solutions to that talent problem. Because if you're speaking to potential partners or investors, or if the scale of your project is one that requires 5 or 10 individuals to be able to work on it, you will come across this challenge, and I think it's something that you need to kind of like have at the back of your mind as you start to grow. The next one that I have here is around execution. The idea is kind of like the easy step. Like, I know you've put in a lot of work to come up with the concepts and the kind of like project that you're working on, and a lot of you have invested an incredible amount of time developing this project so far to this point. But what you will then start to find is that delivering on the project becomes a little bit more complicated as you go through time. And as you start to work with multiple stakeholders, people can be pulling the project in multiple directions, and it's kind of like very difficult to keep a sense as to where the project at any one time. Now, obviously, there are tools that makes it easier for you to kind of like build, fantastic communication, be it using Discord or using a tool like Slack. I'm sure most of you are using one of those tools, if not both of them. You have like project management tools that you can use. You have whiteboarding tools. I mean, there are loads of like sort of like collaborative or collaboration tools out there that would really help to make your work easy or easier. But the important thing here is to kind of like keep that sort of like project milestones in mind and be clear about when you're missing the key milestones, because it's very easy to get lost in the middle of a project. Actually delivering on this project is the important milestone that you have to kind of like focus on. And with the DLA support, like there is the expectation that you will get support for the project, but it's really up to you or down to you to ensure that you are actually able to execute project and achieve what your initial objective was, which is delivering on a project that you can actually bring users on board and hopefully scale further down the line. One of the big challenges in my experience working within the gaming space has really been around distribution and finding sort of like distribution mechanisms that work for target customers within the African continent. Now, obviously, one of the ways that you can distribute is to work with a publisher. So if that is the strategy that you have in mind, then this is a conversation that you want to start really early. And when you're building that relationship, try and build a relationship that actually meets with your own core objective, right? So it's very important that whatever partner you choose to work with, if you're looking at working with a publisher, for instance, that they sort of like embody the ethos of you as an organization or you as an individual, and that you guys actually have a very good working relationship. Because sometimes when there's a misalignment in objectives or misalignment in expectations, that can lead to disappointments and that can also lead to failed executions. And this is an important step when you're looking at working with third-party distributors or publishers, that you find somebody who really believes in the vision the same way that you do and is willing to make as much investment in the delivery of that project, not just in the distribution of the project in itself. If you're self-distributing, then you really need to start looking at, how you're going to do that. So, in our case, we are a mobile-based platform, so we are looking at the app stores with Google Play, and building relationships with product managers within those two platforms to ensure that we have top-line visibility for our games when they're published. There is a timing component to when you start having those conversations, when you have a prototype, when you have a pitch deck for your game. It's very important that you start kind of like having those early conversations and obviously having very clear timelines for your project in terms of when you want to get it delivered. Obviously, distributing your content is one thing. Generating revenue from your games is another thing. Within our line of business, we operate a free-to-play model, which essentially means that the games are accessed for free, and then we try and monetize the games through in-app advertising or through in-app purchases, and in some cases through subscriptions. And it also, in some cases, a combination of all. But I really want to recommend that you guys start thinking about alternative revenue streams for your games, thinking about long-term IPs, for instance, and how you can do cross-platform promotions or cross-platform distributions for your game. So if you have a game, you could want to create an animation from the game. If you have an animation, you might want to create a game from the animation. And stuff like that to kind of like driving revenues. You should also invest heavily in sort of like building up the IP, because that IP would have sort of like long-term value beyond just the reach of like players on the App Store, for instance. So this is a very strong recommendation that you also start thinking about revenue models for your game really early, because there will be a lot of like investment in capital, investment in sweat equity, investment in time, and you need to ensure that you have some kind of like return on that investment in a cash form, and this is very important. And the last bit that I think is going to be very important for you guys is investment. So financial investment or capital investment, as well as advisory. And I put in the advisory piece there because sometimes it's very difficult to raise equity investment or to raise capital investments for projects. And another way that you can approach this is to get people who have a lot of experience to invest their time in advising you on your project. This is extremely valuable because it can open a lot of doors for you. And those doors essentially, in some cases, can be converted into revenue. So I think like, don't wait to get investment to be able to reach out to people and ask them if they're willing to kind of like sit in some kind of like non-advisory capacity and give you based on experience. And there are multiple individuals that you can reach out to. It's a very great platform for reaching out to people, build a relationship with them first, and then see again if there is a fit in terms of ethos, vision, passion, interest, before you actually make that request for them on your advisory board. and leverage them to unlock investment or leverage them to unlock access to capital, as there might be alternative methods that you can access. And there's a last one which I haven't included into this, which is around sort of like partnerships. There are loads of like funds that are available for creators like yourselves. There are loads of access to kind of like capital grants and stuff like that you can apply for. I would definitely recommend that you also start looking into those really early. The more resources you can get access to at this stage, the better, and the greater the likelihood that you can actually deliver on your project and be able to achieve success. But that's my presentation. Thank you very much for having me again, and I look forward to seeing you guys deliver on your projects. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thanks so much, Hugo. I mean, speaking about an advisor that you would want to have would be to have Hugo Opie as an advisor for your video game project. Thanks for that input, a really detailed dive into the kind of video gaming sector in Africa. And it's really one of the sectors that we think is going to explode in the next few years in Africa. It already is exploding, but that's also why we have it as one of our winning elements in the Digital Lab Africa. So thanks, Hugo. I think there's an issue with your camera, so you might need to join and rejoin so that the camera shows up perhaps for the question session at the end. Thanks. All right, we're going to now start bringing in the winners so that they can tell you themselves about their projects. I'm going to join them one by one. So Sagala from Uganda, Khodisaman from South Africa, Karen from Madagascar, Dauda from Togo. We have Brian from Nigeria. And there, here we go. Obi, also from Nigeria. And then we have two absentee spots. There's Arome, who is currently heading off to GITEX in Dubai. He's flying to be part of a conference there and to present his work there. We're really looking forward to that. We're now going to kind of give you a sense of the projects that have won this year. So we'll start off in the animation category with Sagala. Let me spotlight you, Sagala, and then we'll head over to you. Let us know about your project.
Hi. I hope everyone can hear me okay. My name is Sagala, beaming to you from Kampala, Uganda. I'm very excited to be here and very honored to be here. Our project is called Sheepish. It's an animated TV series produced by Sawa Sawa Studios, where I work as a writer and producer. It's set in an African-ish city called Sheepish, where the title characters Tabu and Zabu are trying to make it from the bottom of the hill to the top. Anyone who lives in any African city knows that you always want to move to the top of the hill. That's where all the nice houses are. Tabu and Zabu live on the bottom, and it's about them and the cast of characters as they try and make it to the next level in life. The project is currently in development. We're almost done with the Bible, and we're shopping it around to various podcasters and partners to try and get into an audience of teens and youths all over the continent. I'm very excited to be here as part of the Fakugezi Festival and as part of Digital Lab Africa. And here in Sawa Sawa, we're excited to meet with other African creators because we're passionate about African stories for African screens. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me properly?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. My name is Brian Laulu Wilson. I am creative director and co-founder of Zero Gravity Studios, which is based here in Lagos, Nigeria. So the title of the project that we're presenting at Digital Lab is Amina's Journey. Now, Amina's Journey is the story of a young girl from northern Nigeria, a place called Mamanti in northern Nigeria, whose village gets attacked by Boko Haram terrorists. So we start the journey or the story from her fleeing in a forest nearby her home village. Now we see her fleeing and see, three ghostly-like creatures chasing her. And, all of a sudden, one of them screams out and they stop the chase, but she keeps running into the forest further and further until she trips and falls and, looks back to see that she's no longer being chased by these ghostly-like creatures. But then all of a sudden, before she can even gather her thoughts, two people come stumbling out. She's about to hide, but she realizes that these are two of her close friends. They hug each other and they start to cry and, just wonder what's going on. How did they get here? Then Amina all of a sudden just says, "My father," and then we kind of flash back to the village where she's just coming back from, the farm with a lot of her produce and stuff. Then all of a sudden, mayhem breaks out. We hear gunshots and see people running in every direction. She runs to her home to find her father, in the midst of these ghostly-like creatures. But then we find out that these are not ghostly-like creatures at all. They're actually Boko Haram terrorists. But, she's sort of, as a way to compensate for the trauma she's facing, she's begun to see things. So the story is really about seeing everything in this story through the eyes or the viewpoint of a little girl. Otherwise, it would be a very difficult and maybe, it would be too sad a story to tell because of all the blood and gore and everything that Boko Haram represents. So we kind of made this, through the eyes of this child to make it a story that's more accessible to a younger and a wider audience. So that's the story of Amina's journey, how she makes new friends in the forest and then eventually becomes a leader, leading the people to safety at an IDP camp, where the journey ends. But she essentially becomes a refugee in her own country. It's a 2D animated feature film, and the target audience is it's a fantasy adventure, and the target audience is 11 plus and older. Language would be in English with a little bit of Hausa, and the film is currently in pre-production stage. So, and we are working with co-producer to bring the story to life. So that's Amina's journey in a nutshell. Like the previous speaker said, I'm really glad to be a part of DLA and to, meet with other creators across Africa and tell African stories that resonate with the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Brian. That sounds amazing. Next up, we have in the XR category, Khodisamang from South Africa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Khodisamang Kuno from South Africa. I'm the owner of Mohale Pictures, and my project is called Black Women and Sex. The project is a documentary feature that also has an XR experience. We plan to premiere both of them at the same time. We're in pre-production for the project. The project is it talks about the tension between Black women and the politics of sex. We follow 3 women from 3 different parts of Africa. We have a transgender woman from South Africa, a woman from a polygamous home in Nigeria, and an actress who's in the limelight in Zambia. So these women come from different cultural backgrounds. They come from different economic statuses, different countries, different backgrounds, but we see how the politics of sex kind of connect African women from in different contexts. And in the VR experience, we have them in big bodies of water. It's a 360 immersive project, and one is in the ocean, and one is in the Victoria Falls, and one is in a river. and all of them are naked. It's kind of beautiful, artistic nudity, just to kind of show that women still, own their bodies, still have ownership of their bodies, changing the narrative about representation when it comes to African women's sexuality and defining their sexuality for themselves and using water as a nuance to express their emotions and experiences around sex. It's going to have a very African vibe to it. We play with like mystical creatures, like themes of mermaids and life underwater and spirituality. You hear drums, and if you're from South Africa, you know what I mean when I talk about drums and traditional leaders, healers being able to get into water and connect with the spiritual realm. So those are the themes we're going to be playing with in the VR experience. And then in the documentary, it's going to be their real lives and experiences. So I hope everyone can check out both of these experiences. And we're very, very excited. Very excited to be one of the winners for DLA. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for this, Amang. We can't wait to see your project. It sounds really incredible. So we're looking forward to seeing it in real life. Next up, we have Arome, who's currently heading to GitX to present this very same work. And he'll talk to us in a pre-record, which he did before heading on his flight.
Hello everyone, my name is Arome. I'm just a developer from Abuja, Nigeria. I'm passionate about social innovation and also self-improvement. The name of our studio is called Experience Immersive, a virtual tour VR and attended agencies in Nigeria. Super happy, super excited to be selected as one of the winners for the XR category at the Digital Lab Africa 2021 competition. So the title of our project is called Virtuality Africa. So Virtuality Africa came about during the pandemic when we noticed that thousands of people access art galleries and also museums. So what we did was we partnered with one of the largest private art museums in Nigeria, called the Yemisi Shadon Museum of Arts and Culture in Lagos, to digitize their artwork. We're able to create a virtual tour, which has been engaged by over 1,000 people, both online, also using any VR platform. So the goal of Virtuality Africa is to create a virtual museum whereby local museums would have their content digitized, have a space to showcase the content to anybody, anywhere that wants to learn about African arts, culture, and also heritage. Long-term goal of this project is amazing because we are working with government agencies, also cultural, heritage organizations to digitize some of our heritage sites within Nigeria and also across Africa, preserving them for our future generation to learn about what we are really, really passionate about and for them to experience the amazing content we have. We're super grateful to the entire Digital Africa team for this opportunity, and we can't wait for you guys to experience the Virtuality Africa platform by the end of the year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll head over to Karen from Madagascar, who has won in the video game category.
So, hi everyone. I'm Karen from Madagascar, member of Red Raqueta Studio. First of all, I would like to thank Digital Lab Africa for this opportunity, and congratulations to the winners, to the finalists, and all the participants, and I wish the best to all. So our project is Kalanour, a third-person platform adventure game, and using powers from the 4 elements, the player's mission will be to save the inhabitants of Madagascar who have been transformed into chickens by a witch. And the game will take the player to Madagascar's most iconic and exotic places, with both strange and dangerous yet funny encounters with local folklore creatures. So Kalake is our main character. It's a Kalanour, a strange creature from Madagascar with supernatural powers. And what's behind the idea? It's a mix of pop culture and our culture. So Kalanour was born from the idea to tell an universal heroic story using our culture, which tends to be forgotten. So the game is a hero's journey set in our beloved country. And the vision/ambition is to launch a game that would be fun, with dad jokes, funny quests, etc., but with a cultural touch, as Calano brings back to Madagascar its landscape, its culture, and its legends. And the game will be aimed at all ages, including children, whom we mainly focus on. And who knows, why not create a small emblematic figure of the African game like Mario and Zelda? So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Karen. I see we actually have had an issue with the next person. So we'll go over actually to Ismail Dauda. And we have a pre-record here which has some subtitles so that everyone can see and understand in both French and English the project.
Bonjour à tous, je me nomme Dauda Nouhoun Ismail. Je suis un entrepreneur togolais, développeur de jeux vidéo et d'applications. Le projet que j'ai présenté lors de ce concours se nomme I Can Transform. I Can Transform est un jeu d'action plateforme disponible sur Android et web. Ce jeu permet aussi de faire la promotion des produits, services et musique. Dans ce jeu, vous avez la capacité de vous transformer en objet mécanique. Exemple, voiture, moto, hélicoptère, fusée. Cette capacité va vous servir à éviter les obstacles dans les niveaux et défier les méchants. L'objectif de ce projet est de permettre aux gens à travers le monde de pouvoir se divertir et d'aider les personnes qui sont dans le secteur professionnel à pouvoir utiliser la plateforme de publicité pour faire connaître leur activité partout dans le monde en ces moments difficiles de crise sanitaire. Merci à vous et bonne journée.
Hello everyone, my name is Obi Ifeanyi Chukwu Daniel. I'm a Nigerian currently living in Lagos. My game project is Mama Julie. Mama Julie is an infinite 3D running game with an elaborate backstory. Gameplay is centered around Mama Julie, running through the streets of Lagos to deliver food to her customers. She is the restaurant owner, and the success of her business is dependent on her reaching every customer in time. Lagos City provides a unique backdrop for the game because it has diverse characters and its environment elements are very unique. I see the future of Mama Julie, the game. I see it being published and being played by a lot of people, but I'm sure that's what every game designer hopes for. But because people will be able to relate to the character and relate to the game, I see it becoming a cult classic that can be remade later on with different stories but the same characters, different adventures, and people will also be able to relate to it because the core of the game is very relatable, the whole story and the whole character. We all know of a woman or a person trying to maintain a business in a very difficult environment, and we can all relate to that. The game can be remade and the story can be retold, and it will still be relevant and it will still be relatable for many years to come. So that is the future I see for the game Mama Julie. And hello everyone. My name is...
Sorry, that's starting up again. Thank you. So those are all the winners. People are on and off as the internet goes in flux and flow. So remember, people, do your pre-records because it makes your live event much less stressful. So thank you all. It's been amazing to hear of your 7 projects. Hopefully we will have a tiny bit of time at the end where we might be able to ask some questions. But otherwise, we will go to our guest speaker, Delphine Bouyesi is an independent curator who has lived in Africa for almost 15 years and is based in Dakar. Her studies in history and communication/journalism have led her focus and her passion for art making, specifically on the mediation and communication of contemporary art and museums. We're super happy to have Delphine here with us as a speaker with Hugo. We really wanted to give a rounded sense of what the digital art space is like across the countries of Africa. It's so dynamic, it's so diverse that the more rounded ways we can give to talk about it, the better. So we're very excited to have Delphine talk us through her presentation for Digital Lab for Africa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Delphine Bouyesi. I'm super honored to have been invited by Digital Lab Africa to talk about my experience as an independent curator based in Dakar since 2018. So Eduardo already introduced me to you, and I don't think I need to add anything else, except maybe that when I arrived on the continent 16 years ago, almost 16 years ago, I was a bit afraid to see no professional possibilities or opportunities for me. But as many things in life, it's quite often a question of perception. So I changed my glasses, and what I saw as closed doors became an open field of possible. I choose to become an independent and to learn by doing without stopping to train. So my journey is not especially linear, but at a point in your career, everything will create a synthesis, and your hybrid journey will become your own journey. So let me approach the possibilities or opportunities in digital art after a short analysis of the context in which I'm living and working in. First, we always have to come back to the basics. And so according to me, to the training. In Western and French-speaking Africa, unfortunately, we do not have so much specific trainings in digital art. To be honest, we have very few in Senegal. Most of the existing trainings are short trainings, which is also good because we know people in digital art are mainly autodidact, so it leaves times on to work on the side. So I would advise to young creators and artists to do as many workshops as they can. But it's also true there are no real complete training. So sometimes the part about critical thinking and research that you can find in long-term programs can be missing. So I would advise artists and creators to stay curious and read everything they can find on the subject. So anyway, there is also a real growing, we can go back to the other one. There is also a real growing demand in this field on the artist side as well as the inventor side. What we have also observed is that there is a lack, generally speaking, I mean, not only on the continent, is that the artist, whether he's trained or autodidact, has difficulties to start in professional life or can live from his art. And because there is a lack of professional training, that is why we have created our own program of professional coaching for artists in Senegal, which is called WAYAS. So now we can go to digital creation in Africa. And with the rising issue of the hegemony of American tech giants fighting for the cultural sovereignty with China, especially about artificial intelligence, but not only, culture, education, and training are also becoming issue. It's already visible with the deployment of training center on the African continent with like IBM or MIT or even Google. But we know that the continent has already addressed this urgency of appropriating the technologies by deploying also research group and other programs like Data Science Africa, which was created in 2013 in Kenya by practitioners and researchers, and also deep learning in Daba organization in South Africa, created in 2017, which has already 27, which has spread to 27 African countries. And also university courses and educational programs have emerged in response to that real demand to develop pragmatic answers to endemic questions. So what the digital sphere offers, it's a huge access, different from the White Cube galleries, which is always available to anyone around the globe at a very low cost. It's an incredible field to address, to question representation in general, and especially, as we have seen with the winners, representation of gender, race, or class, but not only. And it's an incredible field to experiment new format of creation and to generate new singular narratives. But what we have to pay attention as creator, cultural manager, or artist is we have to pay attention to the cognitive bias with, for example, such phenomenon as click farms. We have to pay attention to cultural appropriation, to extractivism of data, and we have also to take into account the necessity to create banks of data on the continent and the importance of data sharing. So what about the market and also a bit about the pandemic? With the development of the art market, and especially the market of art from the African continent and the diaspora, we have noticed that there is a gap between the local and international logic, creating some kind of paradox. It means that the agency, it is the capacity of an individual to navigate in that game without knowing the rules, because the rules of the art market are completely implicit. It means that to navigate it in that game, the artists will have to collaborate and to create forms of cooperation. And that's what we have seen already during emerging from the pandemic. And I would like to explore several kind of projects with you, such as, for example, the one of Marcus Neustetter, who is from South Africa, and who had presented a very nice art exploration during the festival Afropixel in Senegal. It was a kind of a new dialogue between artists from all over the world. They have created a special performance by distance. So, of course, there was a work of VJing, which was very important from Marcus himself. But I would say that everyone was important in the composition of that work. And that what is extraordinary is that the people who are coming from everywhere in the world, that they have to create, to rethink the dialogue, to welcome a new attitude, dealing with emotions, personal issues, and situation of the context, but also cultural psychology of the people on several continents at the same time. So I would like to talk also about another project, Miss Sava project, that I particularly liked also, that we showed in Afropixel Festival, but which was previously showed in Fakugesi African Digital Festival, in which this program is actually a part of. And then it was a kind of a collective exhibition about how digital archival and surveillance tools can be harnessed for the healing, inclusion, and manifestation of future women and homosexual. So for me, what was interesting in that project is that there were two kind of curatorial level. The first one, it was about instituting new modalities of conserving knowledge systems and to spread them on the web. But the second one is more on a para-curatorial perspective. The fact that this public program was hosted and led by women and queer bodies, giving voice to people who are usually pushed to the periphery of the art world and digital arts. So for me, we can go to the next. Yeah, the innovation from these two projects was coming on the fact that there is a passage of a collective work to an interdisciplinary work with different lines of course, but convergent line of practice that which enriched in the production of plural experimentation. So the work is becoming multiple because it has several authors and several locations, but also it unfolds in several objects, and it is no longer definitive because it will evolve over the time. So that was the specific interest of that part. We will skip maybe that part of cultural intellectual property to go to other kind of presentation with new formats. Like we have seen in 2020, the KAB Biennale, Kampala Art Biennale, which was completely online. The Afropixel Festival, created by Curti Hassan, the Cultural Center in Senegal. It was its 8th edition this year, beginning of this year, 2021. And Fakugesi Festival, of course, but it was the 2020 festival. And why am I talking about festival? Because for me, it is a specific way to welcome that kind of experimental project. So festival is a very nice format for me for the artist. So I try to sum up what I to Valve, like Afropixel Festival or Fakugesi Festival, or even international festival, which are more and more interested in African art coming from the African continent and voices coming from the African continent, to do as many workshops as you can as an artist, to go to incubator and events, to create your network, to go on residencies, and don't forget also to look after the special network of Fab Lab. Like, for example, in French-speaking countries in Africa, we have REFAO, because the Fab Lab is a special way to experiment new projects. And also I have put some interesting long-term projects which have been created since few years on the continent, and trainings. So I will be open. I was I'm glad to have been part of that project. I thank you so much, and I will be happy to answer a question if we still have time.
Thanks so much, Delphine. You will see a kind of link here, so bit.ly/Delphine Notes. You'll be able to see links to everything that Delphine has mentioned here, so to all of the festivals, Fakugesi, which is currently happening now, and you might be watching within Fakugesi. And then I think, since we are all kind of here, I'll bring everyone else on to see if there is any final question. Feel free to ask Delphine. Hugo's also on. We might not be able to see his video, but are there any questions from you guys to each other? I see there's been a bit of drop off during the event. Internet connections are not all that stable. But yeah, I don't know if Delphine, if you have questions to some of the winners. I see Brian is also back on.
I don't have any question because actually the projects are super clear, but I was super interested to know more about this project in development, and to learn more about everybody again and again. I mean, I will follow you guys.
Yeah, so all the projects, if you want to find out more, there's also another short link here, which is bit.ly/DLA21. If you go there, there's kind of short videos about every single project and a bit more text description. I don't know if there aren't any other questions, then we are a few minutes over. I'd like to really thank our two speakers, Hugo Obi from Nigeria Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to have you here. And then also to all of our winners. This is actually only the start of the journey. There's incubation, masterclasses, residencies at all different kinds of levels, which we're really excited to really get started with all of the participants. And also, if you go onto our social media, you will see a lot of other things happening with Digital Lab Africa. So testimonials from previous winners. We've gone on to do incredible things like get Netflix mentorships with the Gobelin School, to get production deals. There's current DLA 1 winners who are now going across VR festivals in the world. So we look forward to seeing you and seeing you apply to future DLAs. Please keep in mind that DLA will be opening its next edition in February 2022. Sounds quite futuristic. So keep in mind your projects and your ideas if you want to apply then. We'll be opening applications and selecting the new cohort of DLA winners. So we hope that if you're watching now, you'll be one of the winners next year. We're also going to be expanding the DLA to have a larger community aspect so that people will be able to meet each other and transfer knowledge. So we're really excited to be launching that also next year as a really interactive Discord community between DLA applicants, alumni, previous winners. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone. We'll be ending the stream on this side, but we'll kind of stay on as winners, alumni, and speakers on the back end. So thanks for joining us today.